What's up? This is Jordan Gray from Half Lit and DopelivenTV.
Hey, this your boy Don Ritchie representing the Midwest 219. Stand up.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Lamar Tate.
This is your girl, Monifa.
Hey, what up? It's your man, Dave Hollister from Blackstreet.
You know what this is right here. This Trigger Tretch in the building.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is your boy, Jason Weaver. And whenever I'm back home in the Chi, I'm checking out Dope Living TV.
Hey, it's your girl, Adina Howard, and you're watching Dope Living TV, live with Greg Gray and the crew.
Hey, we're back with another phenomenal show for you guys. Look, we never cease to amaze you. But before we start, the views that are expressed in this Dope Living TV Live are not necessarily the views of Dope Living TV or its affiliates. Now that that's out the way, we got some two amazing women today that's going to talk about their journey. And you know what? I just want to say this first, because the holidays are up on us. We had the Thanksgiving just passed. We truly appreciate all of our viewers. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for the appreciation. And we thank you for the love. But these women here, man, they are amazing. We have Dr. Linda Holloway, and I'm gonna tell you, I talked to her for hours on end, and she has so much to share. She's done so much. For someone to step out and talk about something that's taboo in our culture, that's taboo for us parents, she took on that. She's just a courageous step. She took on these talks that you can have with your children about rape, diversity, counseling, sickness, and you know what? Hair. That's right, hair. You think there isn't problems with hair? Hair bullying happens all the time. So she has a way for you to, a segue for you to open up those conversations with your children and feel comfortable talking about it. And then we have this other young lady, this beautiful, beautiful Arlita Carter-Kerr. I'm not going to say why I stress that name, Kerr. I'm going to let y'all tell her. But she has done a magnificent job, you guys. She has been through so much, and she's going to talk about it. But even though she's been through so much, she came out as pure as gold. So you know what? Let me bring my family on, because they waiting on me. I'm talking a lot. I don't usually talk a lot, but I'm excited about our two guests today. Let's bring on my sister.
Hey.
Marcy.
Oh, I'm excited. I know about both of these authors. I'm ready. Let's do this. I am so ready with this.
All right, let's bring on our brother, Mo.
Hey, Maurice.
I was wondering, I'm sitting there going like, man, should I get another bowl of ice cream or something? How y'all doing?
Oh, we are doing
great.
awesome.
Yes.
You know, I'm geeked, man. I'm geeked. I'm so excited to have these two young ladies on here. They got so much to talk about. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time on my jibber jabber, because this time is for them.
Yes.
And I'm going to bring on our first guest, which is Dr. Linda Holloway.
Hi.
Buddy.
How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. How are you all?
Oh,
great. I recognize that stuff in the background there.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. And our next guest, which is Arlita Carter-Kerr.
Get that right. Hello.
Welcome,
Right.
ladies. Welcome. You're outnumbered, Mo. Sorry.
It's okay. I'm in all good company. I ain't sweating that.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
Amen. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I know a little bit about your backgrounds, but we're going to take some time and talk about your backgrounds and how you ended up where you are, the things that you are doing, and what you have planned for the future. Dr. Holloway, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding.
Where are you located?
I'm actually in Huntsville, Alabama.
Ooh, Huntsville. Okay.
Alabama State, so
Yeah, she down the street from me. I'm in Nashville.
You're in Nashville, actually. Great.
Yes.
But I am at the Alabama State University in Montgomery, Alabama. So yeah.
Okay. So you know what? I want you to take a little bit and tell us about yourself.
Okay. First of all, I want to just thank DopelivenTV for having me, because you could have had anyone on the platform. So I really, truly appreciate you giving me this opportunity. So thank you. I want to say hello to everybody that's out there and for those that will listen in later, I just simply want to say thank you. I am, as she mentioned, I'm Dr. Linda J.M. Holloway. I've been a professor for over 20-something years. I teach at Alabama State University, which is located in Montgomery, Alabama. But I like to tell people that I'm from the great state of Mississippi. By the way, of Mount Bayou, Mississippi, which is an all-black town by two former enslaved individuals, Isaac Montgomery and Benjamin T. Green, on July the 12th, 1877. That's important because that's where I got my foundation. I was born on 6 sisters and 2 brothers. I retired from the military after over 27 years as a colonel and Medical Service Corps. I completed 4 comeback tours. So I'm just super excited to be here. So that's a little bit about who I am. I also consider myself to be a story activist. I'm a multi-award winning author. So
you guys, she don't look like she'll kill you, do she?
Look,
She's like one of the nicest people in the world.
By the cover, never, ever. Daddy taught me well.
Well, before we move on, we have to welcome our brother, Life Coach Jeff. He
Hey,
snuck
what's
in
going
on
on,
us.
y'all?
He
How y'all
snuck
doing?
in on us. Hey there, Jeff. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Man, you have an extensive background, Dr. Holloway. Wow. All right, we're going to move on to Arlita. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you, first of all?
I'm in Loganville, Georgia.
Down the street from me. Everybody. Down the street
I'm
from me.
originally from Chicago. I came here about 9 years ago after the death of my first husband.
Oh, wow. We're sorry to hear that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
First of all, I want to thank you. Like Dr. Holloway said, thank you for having me here. I'm still pinching myself. I can't believe any of this is happening to me. It was never my intention to become an author. I love to read, and I love to write and make up stories. I like to encourage and inspire people with my words. But this book came about as a vehicle for healing and an attempt to find closure with the death of my husband. And I can't believe all of the places that it has taken me to. And along the way, writing it, I discovered that I did want to become an author and I did want to write. So I am working on actually my 3rd book. I finished my 2nd one. I'm in the process of trying to get it published, and I'm working on a 3rd.
Awesome.
Okay. That's great.
Wow. That is, you know what? I hear so many people say, I never thought I would write a book. I never thought I was going to be an author. It just happened. It just happened.
You know the best books, though? When it just happens?
Yes, those are the best books. Yes. Dr. Holloway, your books are a little bit different from your regular children's book that we know. You know, it's not your A, B, C, D, F, G type book, is it? Tell us a little bit about your books. First of all, Tell us about your books and tell us what inspired you to write books like this.
Okay, let me start off what inspired me to write books like that. I've been writing articles with Black women in mental health. So I had written articles on the various topics. So as I'm looking and researching and looking at what adult Black women go through, I thought, man, if we could catch that subject early on, and we could start attention and have conversations around that, wouldn't that be nice? So what's a great way to do that than through writing children books? So down that journey to be able to address those issues about, as you have mentioned, about hair, counseling, a person with a disability with sickle cell disease, which we know that is very prevalent among the African American community. We do know that other people do get sickle cell, but probably that is not really talked about. So, great. So, rape, which is also another topic that, as you mentioned, is kind of taboo. People don't want to talk about it. You know that it happens in our community, because when we think about what happened to Maya Angelou, she was a child, and most people think, I didn't really think about her being a child, but she was a child. And I kind of use those examples like Oprah Winfrey, people that they can relate to, because even just saying the word rape sometimes just doesn't leave a good taste in people's mouth. And how say that, I've often been asked if you would have used another term, but we need to use the appropriate terms so we can have the right kind of.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
And then also diversity. Now, we do know when we talk about diversity, oftentimes we talk about race, we talk about somebody don't like somebody because of or discrimination. But I approach because I'd done an article on colorism, and it was very painful to just read what had happened to people. And oftentimes when we think of colorism, we do think of the dark-skinned person. But in this particular book, you address the dark-skinned person. But we do know that people of a lighter hue also discuss. I had to kind of change my language a little bit, because in the article I talked about the person being in the house actually having better than the person in the field. And one of my readers, I don't necessarily know that I would use the term better. And I thought about that long and hard, because even the people in the house had to service people in ways that maybe didn't in the field. So they didn't have it better.
They had all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And so they went through a lot. So it gives you the opportunity to have the discussion that the skin that you're in, you're wonderfully, beautifully made. So that's really because I thought if we can start these conversations early, at least having discussions with our children, with young people in a very positive way, then we can get a handle on everything. Obviously, it's not 100% pure, but we do know having a conversation instead of, because we do know that we can sweep things on the rug, but we say South, it creates what? A hump. And one day you're going to do what? Trip over it. And so instead of just sweeping things on the rug, let's just have the conversation about it.
Well, before we open up the questions, I want to move over to Arlita. And Arlita, you tell the listeners and the viewers what inspired you to write your book. Even though you said you never thought that you would write, you never had any intentions on being an author. You're one now, so
yeah.
Well, I guess I would have to go all the way back to 1997 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And while I was going through my chemo treatment, my oncologist encouraged me to journal because I had a hard time with the support groups, speaking out in front of other people and talking about my fears. And a lot of that was because I was raised in the church. I was supposed to be a woman of faith. So I believed that I wasn't supposed to doubt God, that I was supposed to know that I was going to be healed. And I didn't. I was scared to death. I thought I wasn't going to be here to see my children grow up, to experience being a grandmother. And so I had all this stuff bottled up inside of me and no place to put it. And my oncologist was intuitive enough to figure that out. And she said, okay, this is not going to work for you, but I got something better for you. And she brought me a journal and she told me to start writing. She said, everything that you wish you could say to other people without judgment, all your fears, all your doubts, everything that you that's prohibiting you from healing, I want you to put it in this journal. And every so often, every couple of weeks, I want you to go get your journal, start at the beginning and read to the present so you can see how far you've come. And it was very instrumental in my recovery. The more I wrote, the more I started to believe that I was going to survive. And after my husband's death, it was the same thing. You know, I was angry at him because I felt like he wouldn't let me take him back to the hospital when I realized that there was something wrong after his surgery. And I was angry at God because I was like, here, you've given me this wonderful man. I've had him for almost 40 years. We're just about to realize all of our hopes and dreams and experience the fruits of our labor. And then you take him away from me. I didn't feel like I could say that to anybody else, especially anybody in my church community, because I didn't know if they'd be able to handle that. There were a whole lot of days when I walked the floor and I cried and I railed at God. And I remembered what the oncologist said. And I pulled out a journal and I just started putting all of that in there. And even then, I didn't know that I was going to write a book until I moved here a year after my husband's death. And it just so happened that the young man who was my personal banker was also an author and a playwright. And he was very inquisitive. At the time, I thought he was just nosy, but he was very inquisitive. And he was always asking me, you know, how did you come to be here in Atlanta? And you seem so strong and so stoic, but there's this underlying fragility. And I'm just curious, you know, what's your story? And so when I started telling him, he was like, oh my God, that's a book. He said, you got a testimony and you need to share that, you know? And I'm like, I don't know nothing about writing no book. But he was like, but you've already written one. It may still be in your head or in your heart, but you've written it. We just got to get it down on paper.
So it looked like God was pushing that pen for you anyway.
Okay.
Exactly.
So I have told people many times at my first book signing, at my book launch, and different other places that I've spoken at. This started out as a book. It started out as a means of healing. But I soon learned by the time I finished that book that it was an assignment. And it was one that has blessed me in so many ways, because I've had so many women and even some men approach me and say, you know, I read your book and we could change a few details, but it's my story. I know exactly. I cried with you. I laughed with you. I was angry with you because I've been there. I've been through it. And it gave me peace knowing that I wasn't the only one that went through that experienced that. And he said, and I applaud you of how you were able to come out of it.
Let's back up a minute, because you mentioned something and I can't move on without asking you about this. You said you were having issues with the support groups. Now, most people will tell you find a support group, people you can depend on, people you can talk to. So what happened there? What was the disconnect?
Well, I think part of the problem was I would get there and people would start talking and I would be so busy having empathy for the other people that were talking that I couldn't get my own stuff out.
Wow.
I would start to feel for them. I'd be listening to them. I'd be crying for them. And next thing I know, the session would be over with and I hadn't said a word. And then there were other times when...
Yes, you did. You just said it all over them, you know, give them the hug and the love. You said it.
And there were other times when I wanted to say something, but when I'm listening to the other people talk, I'm watching the other people watching and listening to them talk. And I could see judgment on their faces.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut because I don't want to deal with this.
So but weren't all of you there for the same reason?
Supposedly,
okay.
Can I just say something? I'm a counselor educator, and one of my areas is group counseling. As she said, I had a problem with the group. And so sometimes when people are in counseling, I don't know if, you know, your first group, you know, what your expectations are. We as African Americans being able to air our dirty laundry, as we call it. And so sometimes having this, creating, we often hear people say, create a safe space. I also talk about creating a brave place, but this might be the first time that an individual is actually telling their story. So I don't know if they had ground rules. A lot of times, some groups are not necessarily ran by people who are certified or who have the skill set to actually run group, especially if sometimes they're in church, so they may not necessarily have the training. But there is some training that actually goes with that. But I do like the idea that she already had a tool that she can go to, and we often do tell our clients or customers that they can journal, because they may not want to tell their story because the look on their face. And we know that sometimes people can look at people's face and have, because of their own perception, what they're bringing to the group. I might have a look because something really tragedy happened to me before I got to the group, but it's not necessarily that I'm judging or whatever. I don't know, but and if we don't explore that or talk about that, then that person could. So I'm glad that you had something else that you can actually turn to. And I'm glad that you asked a question, because oftentimes we do make recommendation that an individual go to the group. But sometimes groups are not good for everybody, because everybody is not meant to be able to talk in a group. It may not work for them. So we do have what we call individual therapy. And usually it's in individual therapy, if we feel like that they're a good candidate for a group, we do recommend them to be in a group.
Awesome. You have a statement, Coach?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Miss Holloway, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say a lot of the stuff you were saying right there, but you took a lot of the words out of my mouth. And I do commend you, Miss Carter, for going ahead and actually taking that step. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. A lot of people don't want to find help. You know what I mean? A lot of people rather keep all their emotions bottled in, even if they are writing or journaling. You know, a lot of times people, that's still a way of keeping it in. You know what I mean? Because you could get it out in a way, but for everybody, expression is different. You know what I mean? I had a few clients with me being a life coach with, they have to talk it out. You know what I mean? And as Miss Holloway was saying before, some people don't do well in group sessions. You know what I mean? So I couldn't bring these few people together. They had a lot of the same issues going on mentally. You know what I mean? They can meet each other halfway or like right nail on the hammer, right on the nose with it. But sometimes you do need that separation. So I do commend you for actually taking the time out to do that, because it's hard for people, especially dealing with grief too. It's hard. You said 40 years. That's something.
Yeah.
That's a long time. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get there with mine.
Marcy, you had something to say.
First, Dr. Holloway, I read 5 of your books. I love your illustrator, Ryan Battle. Let me tell you, with her books, you see a lot of books from our community with our people, and it's like skin tones are normally all the same. In her books, let me see if I can show you. They show the real us.
Yes.
You see how we all have different hair textures, different skin tones. I love that. I love the vibrancy of the coloring of your, throughout your books. Also, something she did not say, with these children's books, there's a pledge at the end of each book. So after they go through the book, whether it's about the rape, the sickle cell, or the happy hair, that's what it was called in her book, happy hair. They have pledges. So after they read, you can discuss with the parents or discuss during the school. I think these should be a part of the school curriculum, mandatory for our young children. But there's a pledge that helps them also understand, and then to be able to go look back that I've made a pledge, because sometimes that means even more, that they can frame it or whatever. I made a pledge to not look at people as though they're so different from me. We're all, I'm going to say, God's children, and we're all different, and we should all still be able to mesh. Arlita, read your book, movie material. One more thing, Dr. Holloway, are you doing dowels with your characters?
Am I doing what?
Dowels.
Obviously not. I don't know what dowels is.
DOLLS.
Dolls.
She says it differently because of her skin tone.
Stop messing with me.
She had to fill in for
but DOLLS, like toys. Yes, have you thought about that in animation and all?
Greg Jr. over there.
use a lot of props when I go out into the schools. I have a lot of props. I have not created or designed per se a Little Miss Linda doll, but I did buy one and I called her Little Miss Linda. And so I lose a lot of props to actually tell the story. And usually when I do go out to the school, I don't read the story verbatimly. I actually kind of act it out and kind of talk to them so that it's a little bit more interactive than just from word. Not that because there's basically was two motivations for writing these books was social emotional learning and also literacy. Because as we know, if a child is not able to read, that tends to just cause a multitude of problems in a lot of different areas if they're not able to read. Most of the time, kind of put reading off to a side and just think it's just for literature. But if I'm not able to read, it helps out. It can impact one in terms of their math, in terms of their comprehension. So it's all over in terms of the curriculum. So to answer your question, I do use a lot of different props, and I do have a doll. And
I'm not talking about the props. I'm talking more about a line to add to your line of books, more merchandise to add to your books. And Arlita, we doing a movie?
From your lips to God's ear.
Amen. There it is. It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Well, we have a few questions here. We have Glennis there. Hey, Glennis, I went to Westside with Glennis. I remember you, Glennis. Glennis asked, are the books available on Amazon?
My book is available on Amazon, and it's also available at my website, ArlitaCarter.com. And if you order the book from my website, you get a signed copy.
What is that website again?
ArlitaCarter.com.
Okay, let me see if I can get that out here. Arlita.
Find my phone.
Arlita
Okay,
Carter.
and what about you, Dr. Holloway? Are your books on Amazon as well?
Yes, they are on Amazon.
Okay. What should the listeners, the viewers, what should they go and look for?
When they if they would type in my name, Dr. Linda J. M. Holloway will come up, or I'm sure, if all the books will actually come up under my name associated.
Okay. Perfect. And then Cynthia Martin says, which book is the sickle cell book? Marcy, I believe you have that one.
Little Linda Speaks Out About Sickle Cell Disease.
And that's the one from Dr. Linda Holloway. So you can find that one on Amazon as well. That's a prevalent book.
Diversity.
Diversity is a good one. I mean, Dr. Holloway touched on everything. Everything. Glenda said, thank you. And then I posted your website there, Arlita. Before we get to Jeff's question, I have a question for Dr. Holloway. And I'm just going to address the elephant in the room. Get out the way, elephant.
Come on now.
I want to know, out of these books, were any of these books from your experience, Dr. Holloway?
And I'm going to answer that question. That there is some sprinkle of truth, but they're fictional books. So not necessarily. No.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question. So
it did answer my question.
Yeah,
it did. Jeff, you had a question.
Yeah, she had it. Man, Dr. Holloway, you being very descriptive today because it's stuff that I'm trying to ask you. You saying it all. Okay, you are saying it all. I really want to know. You had answered the question on really how you convey your books to the children, because that's what I really want to know, and I want to know what age group you really have the books for.
Okay, the age group runs from, I would say, from 6 to 12. And the reason I say that, I have done the preschool because Alabama State has a preschool. And so I do a Happy Hair book with them. And so that's what allows the props to be able to be, because some of the language or the terms, obviously, I would not necessarily use that. I do want to circle back around when, so I don't want to seem if I'm being invasive about, whether they actually directly relate to. in terms of the book when I say there are sprinkles of truth. And what I mean by that, because even with my books, she mentioned about the pledge, but it's not in the book. I have what I call LOLs, and that's learning out loud. I have questions that actually go with it. So, say for example, Little Miss Linda and all her stories, she kind of takes a negative experience and she makes it into a positive experience. Happy Hair, it takes place in Mount Bayou, Mississippi. That's factual. I do have 6 sisters and brothers, and no, they did not tease me about my hair. So you as a storyteller or telling a story, there might be some elements of truth. As Solomon tells us, there's nothing new under the sun. So as far as things like that, in terms of sickle cell, I had a really good friend who had sickle cell. And one of the things we often talked about was, we don't get a lot of visibility. Not that he said anything was wrong with, as far as cancer and things like that. And so even in the sickle cell book, like a lot of people not aware that September is sickle cell awareness month. A lot of people not aware that June 19th is National Sickle Cell Day. So those are elements of truth. So those are things that actually inspired me to write the story. And of course, with the counseling book, it has to deal with depression. I didn't go through 3 months where I was depressed or anything like that. But just from the whole thing, what I know about African Americans in counseling, I wrote an article, and it was basically stemmed around why Black people would rather go to church than the counseling. And I kind of addressed those issues. And the same thing with rape, having worked on a college campus in the counseling area, a lot of students didn't want to actually talk about rape, or they had been raped, but they would come in for individual therapy. Also, being in the military, we would hear about different women having been exploited. Also, to look at that topic from a historical perspective when it related to Black women, their bodies really was just not their own. They had experienced rape. And so I addressed that particular issue. We talk about good touch and bad touch, but someone violates you, there's no good touch. It's a bad touch, good touch. So I wanted to really kind of talk about that. And then, of course, the whole thing about colorism. In my family, my father is a dark-skinned individual. I guess to say, because he's deceased, my parents. He was dark-skinned. My mother was light-skinned. So in my family, that's a hue of coloration. And so I would say that there were moments when people would look at pictures and they would say, oh, this person looks better than this person. I would wonder why they would say that. And I was intentional about my nieces and nephews, because people would use terms like good hair, bad hair. And then sometimes, and I know, looking back, they didn't know, but they might give this person candy or they might give them money. But then you got another little kid that's standing there that's saying, see me? Do you see me? But the person would just kind of gravitate to what the Western culture considered to be, beautiful. And so that person will feel ostracized. So that kind of led me to want to talk about those books. So if I stumbled a little bit about who do I write the books for, I do call them children books, but I also utilize these books in my graduate course. I do, because there's interesting therapy. And biblical therapy, you don't just say, okay, read this book and you'll be better. I also do cinema therapy. But we take sections of books, or we take books and we, have our clients or customers to read a book. And so based upon, sometimes people may not be willing to talk about a particular issue. Say, for example, grief. I have a book coming out on grief. But if they read that, they can identify with that character. And that'll open up the door to talk about. So thank you.
Well, let me put up Natalie's comment, because you just answered a portion of her question. Can we expect more books from both of you? So we already just heard that Miss Holloway, you can expect more from her. What about you, Arlita?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. When I was maybe 2 weeks prior to the launch of this first book, I started getting these messages from God that I needed to expand on my message, which was death is not the end for the living. Okay. we have to, those of us that survive those tragic deaths, the loss of a loved one, we have to go on. Death is not an option for us because God has decided that we have more to do. And I kept thinking to myself, if God is to bless me with another love, with a new life, with new hope, with new joy, what would I want that to look like? And out of that question within myself evolved a fictional book that's about a woman based off of my life that's lost her husband and a man that's lost his wife. And they come together as a result of their mutual grief. And it's a story, it's a romantic story. It's a story about faith. It's a story about a praying sister who loves her brother and doesn't want to see him bogged down in grief. And she facilitates this connection, this meeting. And it's about how these two people heal each other and they fall in love and start a new love and a new life.
I like that.
You tugging at my heart.
All of us.
Jeff, you have a question here.
I want to know the mindset of both of you all in terms of your creativity. You know, we talk about what kind of pushed you, but as you're going through the process, you know what I mean? Because I'm gonna be real, I got a book out there too, but I didn't really write a book. Mine is more of an interactive book to help people with coaching and everything. So, you know, I put out 20 quotes, boom, bada, bam. I put out some stuff and I say, here you go, people, you know, this will help you get over the hump with yourself so you can track your progress, all that other stuff like that. It's an alternative to what I offer in terms of coaching. So I don't feel like I had to really dig that deep for it. It just happened. You know what I mean? But for you all, y'all are putting out material that's gripping. You know what I mean? That's making you think. You know what I mean? Y'all have something behind that. So I really want to know the mindset of the creative process behind each and every one of you. We can start with you, Arlita, and then we can go to Dr. Holloway.
Oh, wow. Well, I've been very blessed to have God bring these angels into my life that encouraged me and motivated me and pushed me out of my comfort zone. Like I said, I didn't think I was writing a book. I was just writing down my feelings. But Sean, for example, every now and then he would call me to see how I was doing. Once he convinced me that this was a book, he would call me to check on my process. And he would ask me questions like, okay, I'm your reader, and what is it you want me to get out of this book? What lesson or what message do you want me to receive from what you are writing? And so I had to start thinking about that. And what it taught me to do was to listen more. I know it was orchestrated by God. I know it was. But when I came down here to Atlanta, it seemed like everywhere I went, I ran into a widow. I was at the dentist's office and I ran into a lady that had just lost her husband. And she was talking about the challenges of being a single woman at our age and not having insurance. I go to the nail shop. I run into a widow. And we started to commiserate. So I started listening. And then when I realized that, yes, I was writing a book, I had to think about what instances in my life, what experiences that I had with my husband and the experiences I had after he was gone could help and heal somebody else. So that's been the crux of my creativity.
Wow.
And with this new book, I called it a love letter to God, because it was like,
oh, I like that.
This is okay, God. If you're gonna give me something else, this is what I want. This is what I want it to look like. And Gina shared in the beginning that my new last name is Kerr. You know how they say life imitates art? Well, as I was finishing this second book, the closer I got to the end, I realized my art was imitating my life. Because God sent into my life the man that I prayed for.
Okay.
And he is so close to the character that I've written in that book, it scares me sometimes.
Wow.
And
wow.
When I tell people that you have to believe and trust that God will give you something better. He will give you something new. He will give you something stronger. I'm a living witness that he will, because he did it for me.
Definitely.
Wow.
Same question, Dr. Holloway. Same question.
Amen, amen, amen.
Amen.
Yes.
That's action played around. First of all, before I answer your question, I do want to say, I know you said, I want to give you your kudos, give you your flowers while you're living. You did write a book. A book is a book is a book.
I know.
And so you wrote a book. And those books would encourage someone. There are different types of books. And the reason why that kind of, I wanted to hook with that, because oftentimes we compare ourselves. And I was thinking the same thing. Really, children books, they got way too many words. They got just a lot of stuff that your traditional children books wouldn't have. And so, but my process was, like I said, I had written some articles, and so they stem from that particular thing. And I think that's an excellent question, because really what you see in the book is what you would see in a classroom, is what you would see on a workshop. I pretty much go through the same thing. I look at life. If something happens to you, what are the lessons that you can learn? Not to say that it's a bad thing. I mean, it is a bad thing, or could be a bad thing, but what can I walk away from this from? And so really that's the same process that I actually use in my life. I do want to say that, you know, having people around, I often told people that, you know, the whole saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village when it comes to a book. And you have to be willing to invest in yourself. She mentioned about the illustrator. A lot of times when we are self-publishing, we say, well, I don't have money for this. I may not want to do this, or I may not have for this. So being able to invest in a product that you can actually be proud of, write about something that's actually passionate about. So then I'm not up there just saying, I just wrote a book because I wanted to be an author and I wanted to be out. I'm very passionate about the topics that I wrote about. I would definitely say that. And as you all asked me, who did you write for? Knowing your target audience and being able to go into those areas. Because even though, you know, it's, you know, I'm not afraid to say that I wrote these books for Black children. I know it's the correct thing to say Black and brown. And I know what that means. I understand that coming out of diversity. But if targeting, and that's who I specifically want, I'm okay to go to that Black school. I'm okay to go back to Mount Bayou and speak to those Black children. I'm not ashamed of that, or feel like, oh, they may not have the money, they may not appreciate it. Because believe it or not, Black people, they like excellence. And
that's true. You're right. You're right.
Yes.
Perry, a lot of his movies and stuff came out of the Black churches, you know, came out of people, you know, giving him the nickels and dimes, you know, and the same thing with Country Wayne. So we have to
Country Wayne.
as we should believe.
What a mess.
Time because I say I'm from Mississippi. I did go to Jackson State. He believed, you know, when other people say like, okay, it's an HBCU. And I do the same thing in my classroom. I have my students to believe. Just, you may not be at University of Alabama, you may not be at Auburn, but you can do the same thing. And so taking what you have and making the best of it. So when it came to writing, I did the same thing. I knew that, you know, in trying to get my book out there in front of people, the same way we're entering the DAG. I will tell you this story. I called Gina, and I thought my book is not going to make it. She said, oh, we read them thoroughly. There are any mistakes. I mean, she laid the hammer down. You're not going to get. I said,
I do put a little heat on it, don't it?
I to myself, I've read Bell Hook book and I've caught an error. And she said, well, there are times when the readers, they have questions, and I said, this is a really good book. But she said, I say no. And I about it. And I did ask her this, and I was very sincere. I said, well, can I get feedback? And she said, well, oftentimes people don't want feedback. They don't. I said, well, if nothing else, they can tell me what I can do differently. Because writing, it's something that I have to work at. And I may not always get it right. So I enter on that basis that she told me, because she said people are really close to that book, and they don't want feedback. And I said, I would be more than happy to be able to get that feedback because I felt like it would make me better. And so that pushed me to enter the contest.
And you had great feedback, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that paragraph 2 on page 4.
Let's take a pause. We're going to take a pause at this time to redirect, regroup, and refocus with life coach Jeff Relaford.
All right, you all. So for today's 1 minute thought, it's just simply this: life imitating art. I challenge everybody today to really look at what you're passionate about. Really think about that and allow the actions that happen in your life to dictate what you love. And I really want y'all to think about that, because how many of us are oftentimes walking around unfulfilled, incomplete, not where we want to be in life?
All right.
If you take the time to actually step back, look at what you have going on, and ask yourself the question: is my life imitating the art that I truly want to create? Am I really fulfilled? Am I doing what makes me happy? If your answer is no to that, it's not too late. Go ahead, research, develop yourself, get down and dirty. It might require some healing, some learning about yourself that you never had to do before, but at least you will be on your road to a better you and happiness. That's the 1 minute thought.
Wow, nice job. Tell everybody where they can hear you and what day.
Yes, I have a podcast, the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus podcast, which airs every Monday. We don't have a specific time. We just put the show out on Monday. It's on every major platform that you could think of for podcasting. And I also have the book also, the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus book. It's called Redirect. It's a book of 20 quotes. It's an interactive book. It's also available in an ebook as well. So y'all go ahead, check it out, download it on Amazon also, and other platforms as well.
Awesome. Great job, Coach. You're doing your thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Doing your thing. I just want to ask a question, because Arlita said something to me when I was working with her throughout DAG, and she said something to me that knocked my socks off. You have to share this, Arlita. Tell everybody how old you are.
Got her revealing this all on while we live.
She should be proud to say.
Okay. Before I answer that question, I just want to say this. I was listening to what Jeff said, and I have a 1 minute quote or thought. Don't ever put limitations on God. Because as long as you're walking and you're breathing, it's never too late for him to bless you and to bless you with the desires of your heart. I got married on October 8th of this year, 2 days before my 70th birthday.
What?
Wow.
You guys would have never thought we did. I know she surprised me.
Wow.
I'm thrown off by this.
Man.
Somebody lying.
I was born October 10th, 1952.
I don't believe it, sister. I don't believe none of it. It's all lies. No.
Come on, Natalie.
Black don't crack.
Natalie,
That's right.
Natalie, I'm here to tell you that's a lie. When I get up in the morning, everything cracking.
Okay. Crack, squeaks.
Crack.
You might not see it, but people feel it.
Dr. Holloway, tell us again where we can get your books.
You can find my books on Amazon. They're located on Amazon.
And again, Marcy, hold those books up again.
I only have 3 of them here with me.
I love.
Little Miss Linda speaks out about sickle cell disease. Let me see what I got next to me. Little Miss Linda speaks out about diversity. Little Miss Linda goes to counseling. There's another one. Little Miss Linda speaks out about rape. Little Miss Linda speaks out about her happy hair.
Happy hair.
Happy hair. I love that. There it is.
There it is.
There it is.
I love my happy hair.
Now, what's the meaning behind happy hair?
Oh,
if your hair ain't, I'm not gonna say that because we don't have happy hair.
You can say whatever you want on here.
Crunchy hair.
You can say it.
Textures.
It's really just to say she didn't like her hair, and one day she just tells her mom she has happy hair, and it has a happy hair song that goes with it, and the children really like singing the happy hair song.
You know, that's
it don't
interesting.
sound like that one song, Baby Shark.
Yes, and let's share what Cynthia has to say. 70 looks good on you. Yes, it does. Absolutely. But one thing I want to say, and then we're going to go around the horn as we usually do before we end the show. You guys, we go around and we get our last words, our tips. So, but before I say that, I just want to say that, you know, people don't realize that there is a lot of hair bullying around here. There's a lot of hair bullying. There's a lot of young girls who are ashamed of their hair because of our natural texture. And so those books are needed. There's, you know, some that feel like they want to hide their hair or change it at a young age. It's so unbelievable how young these children are that feel like they have terrible hair. And so we you know, to see books such as that, it's very good to see because, you know, people don't realize that we have children as young as 5-6 years old that are experiencing negativity with their hair.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
and it's not just within the community; it's also externally. As we watched on that TV, was a wrestler. I mean, the person just cut, you know. So it's all people have lost their job because of, you know, the way they have their hair. So.
Yes, Marcy, let's have your last statement.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to talk with the hair. I was going to bring up about how some people are not. They're not hiring them because of braids in their hair or telling them that's too ethnic. And with some, and my son went through this with his hair. He had straight hair, and you know, you would think, okay, oh, they would be like, oh, this is what you know, most people want, but he had some anxiety about it because he couldn't do things like do a fro. And then he was talked about and actually bullied because his hair was different. So that goes both ways, from textured hair to straight hair to wavy hair. So that's what I wanted, you know, kind of say about with the happy hair. And when I heard that happy hair, and I actually read that book as well, I was just like, I was so giddy. I was like, oh, I like that term. Happy hair.
I like that.
I was just like, wow. And in my family, because like you made the comment, we go from one spectrum to the other, name the color eyes, name the type of hair. And we were brought up. There's no such thing as good hair and bad hair.
Absolutely.
They're all different textures. And I love that. I liked all your books. Yours as well, Arlita.
Well, let's go around because we got to get those tips out there, those last minute thoughts. Let's start with you, Dr. Holloway.
Okay, so I know it's sake of time. I do want to tell people about the Crown Law. My last thought would be hold on. Hold on to when you think that you just don't have it in you to hold on. When life just has you down, hold on. And I know people say, well, what do I have to hold on to? Hold on to the word of God. Hold on to the hope that you have. Hold on to that will be a better day, a brighter day. Hold on when you don't feel like you just can get up in the morning or do whatever it is you need to do. I would say hold on. And I'm saying that because a lot of people are experiencing death, loss of jobs, and just going through a lot right now. So hold on.
I like that. Hold on. Arlita.
ArlitaCarter.com. You order it from my website, you'll get an autographed copy. And what I'd like to leave with you tonight, there is no hole too deep or too dark for God's light not to find you.
Amen.
Like Dr. Holloway said, hold on.
Yep.
Hold on and believe that he who is able to keep you from falling will lift you up. No matter how far you fall.
Yes. Great words. Coach, what you got for us?
Man, what can I say that ain't already been said? Man, y'all out here, y'all coming out strong with these last minute words and everything. Jesus. But yeah, just to piggyback off of what everybody else is saying, just don't stop, keep moving, stay determined, stay ahead of yourself. You know what I mean? Stay ahead of you. At least try to be ahead of you. You can't always figure out what the next move is gonna be, but if you actually step out on faith and take a chance, you're actually doing a lot more than you doing nothing at all. So if you don't know the next step you want to take, at least step out and do something, so then you can make your next move. God got you.
Whoa, y'all. Ooh. Strong. Mo, what you got for us?
Mo, I had to dig deep for that, Mo.
I don't know. I'm just gonna say it like Arlita and Miss Linda. Look, it is beautiful that you guys came and shared pieces of your stories with us, because there was nuggets there. There was a lot of stuff we need to pass on to the next generation. A lot of these books, these kind of books, need to get out there. All that other junk, that drama junk, need to go away. This is what we need in our community right here.
Yes. Marcy?
Okay, of course. Seek ye first the kingdom of God.
Come on
now. Put him first above everything. And I want to piggyback off of Life Coach, what he said in so many words. I was like, dang, he's taking my words. Either you go after the life you want or settle for the life that you have.
Great minds think alike.
I had it written down, ready for it.
You said she was ready for it.
He took my words.
Wow. Well, you know what? I just want to say exactly what was on the post earlier. There is no limit to what we as women can accomplish. But I want to add to that. That's by Michelle Obama. This is by Gina Gadsden. There's no limit to what we as people can accomplish.
Yeah.
So keep on pushing. We have had these guests here today, Arlita, Dr. Holloway, to show you that if you keep pushing, you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. And listen, Dr. Holloway never said I didn't intend to be an author. She came out of here just like, this was my intention.
All right.
Arlita came out and said, I didn't intend to be an author. Well, you're there. You're right where God wanted you to be. So just look at these individuals and see how determined they are. They have been through some dark things. They have been through some hard things. But God brought them out and they shared their light. They're sharing their light with everyone else. I want to thank you guys for coming on. You guys are absolutely marvelous.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. If you ever have anything else when those next books come out, let us know. You can share this platform at any time with anything you're doing. I see the way y'all out there moving, both of y'all. I see y'all. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow with another magnificent show. Just be blessed and stay safe.
Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.